This is Nikki Collins,
Jordan Canada,
Essence Carson,
Liz Candace,
Imani Media Stafford,
and you're listening to WNBA Weekly.
WNBA fans, welcome back to another episode of WNBA Weekly. My name is Kyle Haywood, and I am joined tonight by my good friend Logan Jones. Logan, how's it been, man?
Kyle, it's so good to be on. I like for a year we've been like, this show is so cool, and now we're like 3 weeks away from like the actual WNBA season. I'm like, you guys, it's here. Like I don't want to be a dork about it, but like it's our time. So
I'm so amped, dude. It's literally just like days away. Like it's just several days away now. So excited. Obviously preseason's already started. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But before we talk preseason, hey everybody, thanks for still listening to us even after my fiasco of bad audio last episode. When we added video, the YouTube channel things, it gave us a whole new way to record. We have different software that we use sometimes for that, and I double recorded my audio. So thanks for still actually listening to our show, even after all that. The league's in preseason, working out the kinks, and even though our show's several years old now, I guess we're still working out the kinks of the new aspect of the show. So, but Logan, let's hop right into what we want to talk about today. First of all, preseason has officially begun in the WNBA. Let's see. I want to count real quick. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games finished by the time that we will get done recording. The Liberty and the Sun are technically in the latter parts of a fourth quarter right now, with the Sun really just demolishing New York right now.
That game's over, Liberty fans.
Yes.
You don't need to worry about keeping up late for that one.
The good news is it's preseason. So, I always felt growing up, Logan, I was a 49ers fan, and they'd win like 3 games in the regular season, but they would go like 4-0 in preseason. I was like, oh, look, we're awesome. Then I was like, oh, like as a child, like learning that preseason means nothing. So, with preseason meaning nothing, with that in mind, let's talk about how much we're going to hyperanalyze all of the preseason aspects of the WNBA.
I would contend that it only means nothing if your team loses a lot. That doesn't mean anything. But if your team's winning, it's like,
then it means everything. It's like we look so jam.
Good. Yeah.
So
preseason for half these teams is like, oh man, we look great. We're already rolling. Momentum in our favor, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Can we talk just real quick before we get into actually breaking down any of these games or talking about them? Logan, I'm frustrated. Be my therapist for just a bit. I want to watch some WNBA basketball, and there's preseason. There's WNBA basketball to be played currently as we speak. Like legitimately, as you and I are talking right now, there is a game going on that I am unable to watch for some reason. Whether that's whether that fault lies with the teams, whether that fault lies with networks not picking up the games, I don't know. But I'm frustrated. Here we are. We bought League Pass. All of us own League Pass. All of us would watch as many games as possible, and literally cannot watch these games. We live in Utah, so I can't go to Uncasville, Connecticut as much as I would love to. But I can't go there, and I can't go watch a game live. So, I was hoping I could, stream something online, but I can't. Logan, this is a huge problem. What can we do about this? How are we going to resolve this problem that we can't even stream preseason games? I don't care if you have commentary. Stick up just a live feed camera at the top of mid court and just let us watch that way. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Here are my thoughts on this. I don't want to get up on like a high horse and claim like these games are super important. Everyone will watch every game. Like I'm gonna back off of that a little bit. But you can't make the argument like, oh, like the preseason doesn't matter and the season hasn't started yet, and like, the WNBA product, this and that. You can't make that argument and then turn around and buy your like pre-sale tickets for the Jazz Summer League that's like a month away and still tell me that there's no appetite for basketball in these summer months. Like, so that's, I like, I'm not meaning to throw out like a red herring into this argument, but like it on the one hand, like it bothers me, like the righteous indignation, like every game should be national televised on TNT. It's like, no, the NBA playoffs are going on right now. I understand.
Yeah,
but for those of us who paid for League Pass to obviously show an interest in these games and to just check in on how some of the rookies are doing, like how some of these teams are developing, we don't get much of a preseason. We get hardly an off season, in the sense that from the draft to the start of the regular season is such a condensed amount of time. So there's not a lot of there's not a lot of stuff to satisfy that hunger of, hey, my team just drafted, last year, Vegas drafted Asia Wilson. Vegas is going to have a basketball team. Like, all of that hype was condensed into like 3 weeks, and we couldn't even watch some of it.
Yeah.
Because it was locked down, even to people that would watch it online and through streaming services. So to kind of circle this back around, like I always find myself in the middle of this argument between, like, I understand Stanley Cup finals are going on, like the NBA playoffs, the conference finals are going on. Like, I know there's a lot of sports stuff going on where it can't be nationally televised, and it's the preseason anyway, like you mentioned. Like this doesn't hold a ton of bearing on the season. But if people can get up for summer league games that don't matter for men's basketball, that's where I draw the line. Is it's like, if for some reason I can flip over to ESPN2 and watch the Celtics B squad, most of whom aren't going to be in the league come fall, play against the Spurs equivalent, I should be able to get on and see the Sun crush the Liberty if that's what I choose to do with my afternoon.
It's so true. It's spot on. It's frustrating. I want to watch it as someone who, I like to think that our listeners listen to us because we have some sort of insights on the league, and we like to discuss what we notice. We're big fans, and but it's hard to cover when you can't actually watch anybody play.
Yeah,
it's hard to say, hey, cool. Alicia Gray went 1 for 8. So she's struggling, but it's only because I saw the box score. I actually haven't seen her play. Like, it's kind of frustrating. But anyway, and the other frustrating part is that the WNBA Twitter account is like showing highlights of these games, like live as they happen. Why not
we definitely have a camera.
Put that on the link pad. There's people filming. It's not like they're like, hey, we didn't want to pay cameramen. That's fine. If that was the case, it was like, cool, we don't want to set up cameras and do all that. We just want to, whatever, close doors, basically. But no, you've got camera. Like, it looks professionally filmed.
Yeah.
And you're showing these highlights. Just throw it on League Pass. Just throw it on League Pass. I'd love to watch it.
I love talking women's sports coverage. In fact, one of my favorite Twitter followers is Eli Horowitz, Coach Horowitz 13.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Because he's always giving insight into, you can't just cover women's sports when you feel like it. Like, coverage means all the time, like consistent coverage, so people can follow storylines. Like, the Women's World Cup is coming up this summer, and I'm jazzed for it, because how many times have we seen those players, and we have history with those players, and we remember moments watching those players. And if you only cover the WNBA and women's basketball in, the last 2 weeks of each season, or, the final 4 of the March Madness tournament, you don't get that. And so he's a big proponent, and I think this is awesome, of like, yes, you should prioritize women's basketball differently than you have been, but we're not really asking you to put it at the top of your list above football and basketball and what else. We're just asking you to add it to your mix. So, Kyle, you and I both worked at newspapers at one point in our lives. If a softball and a volleyball and a football game go on over one weekend at a college, football is going to get the front page.
Yeah.
But you're not just going to not include the other 2 events.
Yeah, you're not going to send a reporter, or at least have a phone call and write a recap. Like, you got to you're including all of it. Yeah, and that's fine to have football as the headliner. That makes sense, right? It's the big money.
I mean,
but have something.
At Utah State, it made 0 sense. So that's actually a trick question.
That's a good point. Good point. Our football team prior to recently hadn't been very good. So maybe they didn't snag the front cover. Maybe it was softball. But regardless, the point stands. Logan, let's move on. I just want to take a run through. Obviously, like we said, kind of wanting to get a little bit of some insight into some of these preseason games. The first one that was broadcast, I was able to actually watch this one, which was a lot of fun. The Liberty hosted the Chinese national team. Was a lot of fun watching these two teams go at it. Obviously, just kind of a good friendly matchup where everybody can kind of fill each other out. But holy cow, Hanju is the real deal. Like in this sense, at least. And I get she played more minutes than anybody, and it was against, the Chinese national team that she is a part of. And so was a lot of her own teammates. But at 19 years old, we forget that, a lot of these players don't get to the WNBA until they're 21, 22. At 19 years old, and for how tall and lanky she is, she looks so comfortable with the basketball. She looks like she really could add a lot to a New York Liberty squad that is in desperate need of some help on their roster. I was stoked, Logan. She went 6 for 8 from the field, 7 from 8 from the free throw line, which anybody, like I said, as tall and lanky as she is to have the touch that she has, dropping 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Just a solid game overall. Kia Nurse also dropped 19, not to be forgotten. But overall, I thought that was a pretty fun game to watch. Did you have any takeaways from that?
Yeah, I love when impact players come into this league right away, especially to teams in need. My big concern with the Liberty is last year they were that team where you would watch them and you'd be like, their defense is bad, but at least their offense sucks. Wait, yeah. Both ends of the floor needed so much help. It wasn't like, they're just, a piece or two away. But if you can get a big to come in like Hanju has and provide a little something on both ends of the floor, it elevates the play of everybody else. And as I say this, they're trailing by 35 to the Connecticut Sun. So this isn't the prediction show. The predictions episode is later. We're
talking this single game.
But I really think that adding, versus adding a guard, which might give you a lot offensively, but you're still in need of something on the defensive end of the floor. If you add someone who can protect the rim and score in the paint, suddenly you're addressing a lot of different things and a lot of different phases of the game at once. And I think that was a good call by them.
Agreed. I'm excited to see what Han does inside with Tina Charles, kind of that, kind of the 1-2 punch that they've got on the inside there. Should be good. Should be interesting to see. Let's swing over to the Mystics and the Lynx. Had a good matchup here. Minnesota comes away with a win. Like we said, these games don't mean a ton, other than Emma Meesman. My goodness, welcome back, everybody. Yes. Emma Meesman, 22 minutes on the floor, went 8 for 13, dropped 19.6 rebounds. Like I said, in 22 minutes, that in somewhat limited minutes, dropping 19 and. I just, that was impressive to me. Sylvia Fowles, the double-double machine on the other end of the court for Minnesota, dropped 19 and 11 rebounds. So really solid outing by her. Odyssey Sims looks like she seems to be fitting in pretty well. She did get a lot of minutes. I think that's smart. I think that's smart of Coach Reeves to have Odyssey out there quite a bit to kind of see who she flows with, how she plays. But she dropped 20. She did have 29 minutes, which was pretty excessive, especially for a preseason game. You don't want to wear her out. But I think that it's smart to get her out there and kind of get a feel for how she's going to play. D-Rob getting 25 minutes. So excited to see her back on the floor. But Logan, any thoughts on this game?
I'll give you a little bit of a preview into what I've been kind of letting percolate for the past month in preparation for our preseason prediction show. Yeah, I'm buying a lot of Mystic stock this year.
Ooh, as opposed to previous year?
Yes,
as if you didn't last year.
I didn't like. The Mystics and the Sun are those two teams that I know are always going to be.
Oh, sorry, you said Mystics. In my brain, I thought Minnesota. You said Mystics. My thought, no. I was like, dude, you picked Minnesota.
Yeah, for
the way.
Sorry, for those who aren't aware, I was all in on Minnesota, just blanking everyone on awards last year, and they completely fell flat.
Mystics. Thank you. Yeah, we're on the same page
Mystics
now.
And the Connecticut Sun last year were two teams that I thought those are competitive teams, but I don't think they've got whatever that X factor is that makes you really believe in a team, even this momentum in the preseason. And this year, I feel it, and especially with Emma Meesman being back, I feel a lot of excitement around it. They're one of the teams that didn't lose their star to some grisly injury, that didn't have some sort of off court drama or some sort of coaching mishap. I feel like they've got everything together to make a deep run. I don't know if they're going to be my pick to win it all just yet. I'm still working out those kinks, but. That said, I know you're all listening to this as Lynx fans going, hey, that's super cool. Minnesota won. Can we talk about
I know,
that?
Right?
Because Minnesota's a super well-balanced team. And I had an opportunity to talk to one of their assistant coaches lately for one of the interviews we did for this show about having a lot of off-season time with Danielle Robinson, getting her healthy and bringing her back. They've got a lot of impact players that don't necessarily need to step up and be the one every single night because they can score. I think there's 3 scorers there with Maya Moore and Simone Augustus and Sylvia Fowles.
Well, Maya's out for the season, but
sorry.
Yeah, Sylvia, Simone, and
who's the third?
Well, you've got Odyssey Sims, right?
Yeah. Sorry, maybe it's a good sign that I'm mixing up Maya Moore and Odyssey Sims. I don't know.
Yeah. But no, I agree. You've got Nafisa Collier coming in that they've drafted well. They also picked up Lexi Brown and Karima Christmas Kelly in the offseason, along with Odyssey Sims. They've got some real talent, and I think it's kind of a new look Lynx, without Maya, without Lindsay Whalen, but moving on from those two and bringing in some fresh blood. I last year made a prediction that I thought Lexi Brown was going to be an impact player. And she really, honestly, just didn't see the floor much. And I'm hoping that she gets more of an opportunity that way with Minnesota this season. So we'll see. I think that she could be, on the 2 deep there and get some decent bench minutes. And I'd be interested to see. I would love to see her carve out a long-term career in the league. Let's shift over to LA and Phoenix. Okay, these are probably the 2 teams that are at the top of my. Probably these 2 teams, along with, like you said, Washington, are kind of right at the top of my power rankings as of now. We'll see how I actually feel at our prediction show. But these 2 teams have a lot of my attention right now. You've got the Agumake duo there in LA, Candace Parker, Alexis Jones, to say nothing of Elena Beard, Chelsea Gray, Tierra Ruffin-Pratt, also bring in Kalani Brown. Like, they've got Maria Vadiva, they're literally just look through their roster. They had top to bottom have so much talent. And Logan, that makes me nervous because you know what else they had last year when they finished 6th? A lot of talent. I don't know. It makes me nervous. They have a first-year coach. They have a ton of talent. If they can put it together, if they can click, this might be one of the greatest and most dominant WNBA teams in the history of the league because of the talent they have on the roster. But that's if it clicks. It reminds me of, it reminds me of, when you get some of those super teams that get together, but just nothing ever really happens. Too many stars, too many cooks in the kitchen, and nobody gets enough. Nobody gets the ball in their hands enough. So that makes me nervous, but there's obviously out there. Phoenix, I think, is has done everything right in the offseason. They were literal, a couple seconds away from a finals appearance and probable WNBA finals championship. They are going to be missing. Obviously, they're missing DT at the beginning of the season, but she's going to come back in a few weeks. And I think she'll be full speed ahead by the time the playoffs roll around. They've got Sancho Little coming back from injury, Alana Smith and Brianna Turner that they've drafted well. I'm excited to see how Phoenix does this season. Yeah. So anyway, what are your thoughts just on this game overall and kind of what we're going to see from these 2 teams?
Yeah, of course, Candace Parker's hamstring injury is a little bit concerning.
A little concerning,
just because there's so many. I mean, there's so many who, like I said about the Mystics, they're one of the rare teams that hasn't suffered a star injury. We're quickly getting a WNBA landscape that looks like it's going to be shaped by injuries this season, just by nature of the season being relatively short. So that's obviously a storyline to keep tabs on. really interested to see what happens with Alana Smith. She was one of, first of all, probably my proudest moment on this show ever was watching the WNBA draft and feeling like two teams made the exact right call, and they happen to be the two teams that I was assigned in our mock draft. And I think Alana Smith went to the exact right place to be effective. We're watching this in the NBA playoffs right now, and we're seeing this now in the WNBA preseason, where if a player doesn't score, people on Twitter aren't in love with them. They're convinced that it's a bad game if a player doesn't put up 20 points per game. And they're forgetting that there's a lot of other aspects of basketball if your teammates are picking up the scoring load. So when Alana Smith goes in and nets 7 rebounds and 5 assists and 3 steals and 3 blocks, I'm thinking that's a solid game. If I'm a coach, are you happy with that output? Absolutely.
Of course.
So, maybe she steps up her scoring output, but with that squad surrounding her, maybe she doesn't have to. If you can secure a do-it-all player in the draft to add to an already stacked team, maybe you can make up for not having your star in place for a month or two.
I love it, dude. I love that breakdown. I'm super excited for Sophie Cunningham because she is one of those individuals in college hoops that just really, she seemed to kind of get under the other team's skin. And I don't know what it is about those types of players. I love to watch those types of players. And so I'm excited, where she's going to be under tutelage of the great trash talker Diana Taurasi. I think more so than a talented jumper, DT might be one of the best trash talkers in the history of all sports. And to have Sophie Cunningham, kind of following along in those footsteps, I'm excited to see. Phoenix on that trajectory. Last but not least, Dallas and Atlanta. Let's talk about them since the other game's kind of still. Well, no, the other game's finalized now. But let's go Dallas and Atlanta. Atlanta obviously coming away with a huge victory over Dallas. But that's where these two teams were last season. That kind of is where you'd expect them to be. I feel like both of them drafted fairly well. Dallas picking up Agumbawale and Gustafsson, but and Atlanta doing well themselves. I think it'll be really interesting to see how these two teams, kind of where they go. I feel like Atlanta way overperformed last season from where I had them projected. Dallas really underperformed from where I had them projected. But I do think that they're still going to continue in their trajectories from where they were. I think Dallas is kind of maybe taking a step back again this season. Atlanta looks like they've shored up a few things and is moving forward. What's your thoughts on this game and these two teams?
I really love the quarter breakdown of this game as a nice display of what Nikki Collin and the Atlanta Dream are doing defensively already in the preseason.
Yes.
Dallas did not score above 17 points in any quarter in this game. They topped out at 59 total. Yes, it's the preseason. It's a very small sample size. We shouldn't take any of this, super seriously, I guess. But if you're new to the WNBA and you're trying to get a feel for what every team's identity is, the Atlanta Dream have a very clear one. And it's that they aren't going to be out defended by any team in the league, no matter what your championship aspirations are. So I'm very excited about what they're doing in Atlanta. It's especially fun to see them score. But they can win games with, they can score 70 points and beat you this year, just like they did last year. I think that's part of the key of them overperforming. And it looks like that's just going to continue.
Love it. So let's swing into New York and Connecticut. Just super quick run through. Hanju, 16 minutes, but comes away with only 2 points. So very cooled off this time around. Rebecca Allen ended up having a really solid game for the Liberty. She got the most minutes of anybody. Also came away with 18 points. But Connecticut, in Connecticut fashion, has 4 players finish in double digits.
Of course.
And a 5th one with 9 points. And a 6th one with 8 points. So
for the record,
yes.
I love teams that play as teams. I think it's way overblown and almost like soap opera levels in the NBA when you just hear talk about the stars and the supporting cast gets, no credit. I love teams that spread the ball around and play as teams. But I don't get the Connecticut Sun at all. Like when I play against them, when I cheer for them, no matter how I feel about them going into a game, they're like, we just talked about the Atlanta Dream have this identity. I don't know what the Sun's identity is.
The Sun
I have no idea.
It's so widespread. Like Yeah, I love it. It's so awesome to see that there's so many different players that at any given night can give you just a pile of buckets, you know, and I think it's a lot of fun. How do you defend a team like Connecticut? You know, like there's so many times it's like, well, if we shut down so and so and so and so, then that takes away, 60% of their scoring. You can't do that with Connecticut because everyone has like 17% of their scoring on the team. Every player has exactly that percentage. Like, it's insane. I love it. I'm excited to see. I think Jonquel Jones is going to play another. She's going to have her role increased again this season, especially with Agumake heading out to LA. I think that opens the floodgates for Jonquel Jones' show, and I'm really excited to see what she's going to do. Obviously, Alyssa Thomas, Jasmine Thomas as two of the more prolific players in the league. I'm excited to see them. As always, Courtney Williams is fun to watch. They're just so deep. Laisha Clarendon, like Rachel Banham, like just, oh man, I can't wait to see this team.
I'll give this to them right at the buzzer just now. The game just went final. They scored their bucket to get over 100. They dropped 100 burger on New York.
Of course.
So
of course.
100 to 66 final score. I
That's
respect
dominant.
a team that knows we want to intimidate teams this year. Let's drop triple digits on them before the end of the game.
I love it. Well, guys, thank you for listening in this week. We appreciate it. One thing that I do want to make one quick announcement before we take off. Hopefully you guys are listening to us. I mean, you're obviously listening to us. Hopefully you're following us on Twitter and Facebook at WNBA Weekly. You can check us out there. Also, there's another account that we would like you to pay attention to. It's at WBB United. Please check that Twitter account out. That Twitter account is going to be retweeting a lot of the media that and media personalities that are covering the league this season. If you want to know, hey, who do I follow for WNBA coverage? Go check out WBB United and pay attention to what they retweet. And check that out. That's kind of going to be a big hub for a lot of us who cover the WNBA, kind of a big group of a media personnel who cover the league are going to be using that account to kind of retweet a lot of articles, a lot of podcasts, a lot of videos or photos, whatever it is, any type of media that covers the league, you'll be able to find it there. So make sure you're checking that out and paying attention to anything hashtag WBB United. But as always, thank you for tuning in to another episode of WNBA Weekly. For WNBA Weekly, my name's Kyle Haywood.
I'm Logan Jones.
And we got you next time.
Hey there, WNBA Weekly fans. This is Jason, co-host and editor of the show, jumping in at the end here because after Kyle and Logan recorded, I'm a night owl. I work the night shift at the hospital, so on my days off, I do the editing on the show. There has been some Twitter chatter going on, and so we've got some breaking news. Kind of breaking news, I guess is the right way to say it. So anyways, I just wanted to jump on and get that out since we're releasing tomorrow morning. I thought we wanted you guys to have the most recent news. And that is coming out about Liz Cambage and a potential trade that could be going on. And there's some conflicting stories going on. So Brady Klopfer, who is a beat writer for the LA Sparks, he sent out a tweet, I think the first one to really break this as far as I can tell on Twitter. He said the Dallas Wings are finalizing a trade to send Liz Cambage to the Las Vegas Aces for Mariah Jefferson, Isabel Harrison, and a future pick. He goes on to give some analysis. He thinks that'd be pennies on the dollar compared to what the LA Sparks could have offered Dallas. That news was responded to by High Post Hoops. High Post Hoops, a fairly reliable news source in the WNBA. They said that 3 league sources have told at High Post Hoops that there is no deal close to completion between the Dallas Wings and the Las Vegas Aces. And they had Howard Megdal had the story. He wrote an article for them. He's a great writer. If you've not followed him already on Twitter, I would recommend you do so. So some competing stories. So we're not really sure. We've not been able to gain any independent confirmation or denial. It sounds like that's where pretty much everyone is. Obviously, Brady Klopfer getting some confirmation, High Post Hoops getting some denial, and everyone else kind of in the middle, not really knowing what's going on. Tamron Spruill, who's editor-in-chief of Swish Appeal, said that on Liz Cambage, the Dallas Wings would neither confirm nor deny the rumors about a Cambage trade to the Las Vegas Aces. The Wings are not prepared to speak on this. Quote, "We do not have a comment at this time." Another comment coming out, a couple of the funner ones. I thought it was funny. Diana Taurasi's bun, which if you've not followed that account, that's another one that you need to follow. Says that I'm not believing any Liz Cambage news until I see her in uniform. Center circle tip off #WNBA. I think I would believe it before that point, but I'm definitely not 100% convinced that it's happening at this point. Right now, it's a little bit of a battle of the sources. To High Post Hoops, Monique Curry actually responded to High Post Hoops, or she kind of quote tweeted or whatever that's called, where you retweet with your own commentary in there. And she just said, "Oh yes, it is." So Monique Curry obviously has a lot of connections to the league. So that's an interesting one. Her kind of coming in to confirm the idea that there is one. And then my favorite tweet of the night from Joseph Zucker, who's a breaking news writer for Bleacher Report, said, when asked about whether they had agreed to trade Liz Cambage to the Aces, the Wings would neither confirm nor deny that Liz Cambage was a real person. So lots of stuff going on. If you are not already, we would encourage you to follow us and follow a lot of the other WNBA voices. In the next couple of days, my guess is there's going to be a lot of news about this, but we don't put another episode out until next week. So if you want the latest, if you want to know what's going on, go ahead and jump on at WNBA Weekly. We'd be happy to give you some recommendations of other people to follow there as well. So that's kind of what's going on about Liz Cambage. As we get more updates, check our Twitter. There will be information there. We'll also throw up some stuff on Facebook. And also just a little bit of show news. We do have a few things going on. We've been talking about doing episode or team preview episodes here in the near future. With how fast the season's approaching, I don't think we're going to get it done. So I think we're going to switch. Rather than doing a unique dedicated episode to each team where we go over sort of last season stuff, we're just going to get you guys interviews as we get them. We're getting some interviews now, and they're tons of fun, and we don't want to hold on to them for a project which we may or may not have time to finish up. So we're just going to release them. So this week, I'm kind of planning on different mornings throughout this week, probably for the next couple of days, throwing out some different interviews. We'll probably have a Mystics Day. Luckily, we were given access to players during the Mystics Media Day, so we have a lot of brief interviews from the Mystics. Ariel Atkins, Lena Deladon, Natasha Cloud, Chrissy Tolliver, just to name a few. We've got even more interviews than that. We'll have a Mercury Day. We had Alana Smith, the first-round draft pick of the Mercury, join us on the show, so we'll push that interview out, as well as we had the assistant coach Walt Hopkins of the Minnesota Lynx on the show to talk about coaching and the Lynx and kind of what we can expect this year. So those are three that we definitely have coming out as we get more interviews in. I think we're just going to push those straight out rather than trying to do whole episode highlights, just because the production time and effort that's going to go into that, we're not sure we can get it done before the season. So we're going to go with that. And then this episode, because of recording limitations, was only an audio version, but you will still find it on YouTube. If you've not been to our YouTube channel, we'd invite you to go check it out. You can just find WNBA Weekly on YouTube. Just for this episode, if you're interested in watching it on YouTube, I may try to throw some imagery in there, maybe some tweets or something like that as they're read on the show. But generally speaking, it'll probably just be a waveform over our normal background. So it'll just kind of be an audio version on YouTube. So it'll still be a video, but there won't be our faces on it, which, in the end may be a plus. But anyways, so I just want to jump in and give you those updates, both about the show and about Liz Cambage. And as always, if you want up to the minute stuff, Twitter, Facebook, find us at WNBA Weekly. And so this is the end of the regular scheduled interruption. I'm Jason Snow, and we got you next time.